Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's good to see you all this evening. Just to let you know, Pastor Travis is not feeling well. He's a little under the weather. He was here on Sunday, and I think just not being in the pulpit just made him sick. And he just was like, you know what? I wish I'd have been able to preach today. And then he went home feeling all down in the dumps. Now, he's got some negative strep tests, but he's got some throat and head and things that just not feeling great. So he's still not feeling good, and asked me if I'd teach tonight. And I said, sure, and decided to go ahead and get all the confusion out of the way. It's not Article 16 or 25 or 86 or whatever. We're talking about Article 13 tonight. That way we don't get any confused like we did last week. It is really kind of funny, the Firm Foundations book that some of us have goes just article by article, but this book that I use for some of the prep that we do, it goes by chapters, and for some reason it's chapter 16 now and Article 13. So whenever I said Article 15 last week and you all looked at me like, yeah, I really was pretty confused. So anyways, we're talking about Article 13 tonight. And we're talking about stewardship. Stewardship. So really, if you've been around church for any length of time, you've heard the name Dave Ramsey, and you've heard about Financial Peace University and all those things. Because whenever we hear the word stewardship, obviously we're just talking about financial resources. That's that's what we're talking about. No, that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about that to an extent, but it goes so much more than just money and tangible goods. And so let's just take a minute to define stewardship itself. The definition of stewardship is the job of supervising or taking care of something such as an organization or property, but we're not just talking about taking care of goods that we can put our hands on, or properties or organizations or anything like that. We're talking about so much more. And for the believer, stewardship encompasses everything. So this is the definition of Christian stewardship: the responsibility to manage resources God has placed in our care. And we're going to talk about what that looks like, because if we're going to talk about the things that God has placed in our care, that is a broad list. It goes on and on and on, and it's even things that we don't even know how to put into words. And we're called to be stewards of these things. Just like I'm a steward of the knowledge of why I'm wearing an Edmonton Oilers shirt tonight. Somebody said, if you're going to wear a hockey shirt, at least wear the Red Wings. Was that you, Scott? Does anybody know why I'm wearing an Edmonton Oilers shirt? Some people know. Why am I wearing an Edmonton Oilers shirt? Because I've been to Canada. I've been to Edmonton, Canada. I don't care much about hockey, but I do, I love the people in Edmonton that we visit with and that we have a partnership with. And so while I was there last summer, I bought an Edmonton Oilers shirt. I also am steward of the information that we talk about curling. I'm going to steward some of that information for you. If you've been watching curling, some of you told me, hey, I watched curling last night. Anybody after last week decide I'm just going to check it out? Maybe I had never watched it before, but I'm going to check it out. Just so you know, the U.S. men and women are struggling pretty bad. They basically have a chance to get in. If the women win their next match, they're in. If the men, doesn't matter what they do, 3 teams got to lose, then they're in. So we're praying for a miracle, but we'll see. Anyways, stewarding information is one thing, but we're talking about stewardship in the sense of actually managing the resources that God has placed in our care. So let's go ahead and read through the article here, article number 13 on stewardship, and this is what it says. God is the source of all blessings, temporal and spiritual. All that we have and are, we owe to Him. Christians have a spiritual debtorship to the whole world, a holy trusteeship in the gospel, and a binding stewardship in their possessions. They are therefore under obligation to serve Him with their time, talents, and material possessions. and should recognize all these as entrusted to them to use for the glory of God and for helping others. According to the Scriptures, Christians should contribute of their means cheerfully, regularly, systematically, proportionately, and liberally for the advancement of the Redeemer's cause on earth. And again, we're not just talking about money. We're not just talking about things. We're talking about so much more than that. So if you're good with it, let's just go ahead and jump in. I hated school, but pre-tests are a good way for us to kind of get this information and see what you all know. And so who's ready for a test? I know Cole's excited about it. I see it all over his face. So I'm going to give you true or false questions, and then we're going to talk about the answers. Okay? You ready? Easy. 50-50 chance. All right, here we go. Question number 1. Not all Christians are stewards. True or false? It shouldn't be true, but it is. Okay. Let me rephrase the question then. Not all Christians are expected to be stewards. That's false. We're all expected to be stewards. And Larry's right. Sometimes it's not great stewardship. We're not good stewards oftentimes. But all Christians are stewards. Even if we have nothing, material possessions are out of the window. That word Christian defines everything we need to know in this question itself. The fact that we are Christians means that no matter what we have in our wallets, in our bank accounts, whether we have car keys in our pockets or shoes on our feet, we may have nothing and still have absolutely everything. God has given us everything that we need. And whenever we talk about needs, it's spiritual needs. If we've been redeemed, if we've accepted Jesus as our Savior, He's redeemed us, He's saved us, He has gloriously changed us, then we have absolutely everything that we need. And the article actually covers this. It says that God is the source of all blessings, temporal and spiritual. And because He's the source, if we are believers, if we've placed our faith in Him, and we're Christians, then we have everything that we need, and everything that we have to be stewards of. So yes, all Christians are stewards. Question number 2, a steward does not own what is entrusted to him. True or false? True. If both? Somebody said both. I'm curious, Ben, why both? Okay, sure. I steward the things that I own, in a sense. I get that. Whenever we're talking about this idea of Christian stewardship, though, we'll take that side out of it, right? Because it's not something that we own. It's given to us. It's something that we've been entrusted with to care for, something that we've been entrusted with to manage and to take care of. So not all of the things that we have do we not own. I own a vehicle. It has my name on it. But really, whenever I dig deep into that, God gave me the resources to own that vehicle. So really, it belongs to Him. It's something that I get to manage, and it's something that I get to take care of. But I don't necessarily own the things that are entrusted to me. The things that we have are the things that have been given to us. That's really all that we have. The other things in our life are the things that own us. There's nothing wrong with owning things, but when things begin to own you, then you're no longer stewarding them, you're living for them. There's a big difference here with what we're talking about, and the article kind of deals with that too. It says, all that we have and are, we owe to Him. Anything that we've been given as a gift from Him. We're just entrusted with its care. Whenever we begin to own things, whenever we begin to say, this is mine, then we look at it with a closed fist kind of mentality, and nobody can take that away from us. It's mine. And I've been entrusted to deal with it, but it's mine. It's okay to take ownership of some things. Like whenever we say, hey, I'm a part of this ministry, and I'm really going to kind of take ownership and make sure that this part of it happens. Well, the good thing is God has entrusted you with that. ministry, and he's allowed you to do this. And so for us to say, I'm taking ownership of it, is totally different than saying, it's mine. Because it's not mine, it's God's. And I'm just entrusted. I'm not an owner of that. Number 3, material possessions always indicate God's favor, true or false. Man, you guys are real quiet, but I heard a few falses. I didn't hear any truths, so I'm just going to say y'all got 100% on that one. Material possessions do not indicate God's favor. I don't know about you all, but I've seen a lot of rich people out there that are definitely not in the same family that I am. They definitely don't believe in the same God that I believe in. They've made material possessions their God, or they've made their work their God, or they have all these idols in place of who God is. And so for us to say that material possessions always indicate God's favor, that doesn't make any sense. Because God's favor was shown to us at the cross. When Jesus died on the cross, that grace that was given in that moment, that's God's favor given to each of us. Romans 5:8, that's evidence of that. God demonstrates his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. He loves us and shows us favor by extending this grace through Jesus' death on the cross. That's really an indication of God's favor, not mere material possessions. That's good. It's okay to be blessed. There's nothing wrong with being blessed and having things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that God has favor on those that have stuff, and the article deals with that as well. It says, all blessings, temporal and spiritual. Temporal is like temporary. We only get it for a moment. But the spiritual blessings that we have, the things that God has given us, really, whenever we look at it, the only thing that we need is that forgiveness that Jesus showed us on the cross. Whenever we have that, we have God's favor. I love, I told you, Miss Christy, here it comes. Where'd you go? I see it. Yeah, we're on the front row. I told her I was going to talk about an old song today. You guys know the name Jim Reeves? Anybody? Jim Reeves? He wrote a song called I'd Rather Have Jesus. I'm going to read it to you. I'm not going to sing it to you. I probably could, but y'all don't want to hear that. It says, I'd rather have Jesus than silver and gold. I'd rather be his than riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than houses or land. I'd rather be led by his nail-pierced hand than to be the king of a vast domain and be held in the sin's dread way. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today. I'd rather have Jesus than worldly applause. I'd rather be faithful to his dear cause. I'd rather have Jesus than worldwide fame. Yes, I'd rather be true to his holy name. Whenever we talk about the gifts that we have, the material possessions mean nothing compared to Jesus and his riches and his gifts and his love that he poured out on a cross. All of the material possessions in the world are absolutely nothing compared to that. All right, question number 4. We will be held accountable for our use of what God has given us. True or false? True. I think that's kind of obvious. Let's look at Matthew chapter 25. I'm going to read verses 14 through 30. It's going to be a bit, but I think it's important for us to really grasp, and I know that you all are no strangers to this story probably. Some of you maybe not as familiar, but most of us have heard this a few times, and so I'm just going to read Matthew 25, 14 through 30. For it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he who had the 2 talents made 2 talents more, but he who had received the 1 talent, he went and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. Now, after a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts to them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here, I have made 5 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he who had also had the 2 talents came forward, saying, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here I have made 2 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And then in verse 24, he also who had received the 1 talent came forward, saying, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed, so I was afraid. I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here, you have what's yours. But his master answered him, You wicked and slothful servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown and where I gathered where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested the money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has will more be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness, that place where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth. The problem with having been given this ministry of stewardship is that we have been given this ministry of stewardship. It's really easy for us to say, hey, I have received God's forgiveness and live a comfortable, cushy life. And really, I mean, we're blessed because we have the assurance of our salvation, and we know that no matter what happens today, if something happened today and God took me from this earth, I know that I would be in the presence of Christ. Like, there's no question in my mind. But the other side of that is if I hold in all of that and I keep it to myself and I don't go share with the world around me and I keep it closed and I'm hiding it from everyone, then I'm not stewarding it correctly. I've been entrusted with it. I've been given talents. I've been given gifts. I've been given the gospel. Now my job is to go and give the gospel. To take the talents that God has given me. And of course, in this case, we're talking about money, but I mean, we all have gifts. We all have talents. We need to be using those to further the kingdom. That's what we've been entrusted with them for. In fact, right here in this article, it says, all that we have and are we owe to him. Christians have a spiritual debtorship to the whole world, a holy trusteeship in the gospel, and a binding stewardship in their possessions. They are therefore under obligation to serve him with their time, talents, and material possessions, and should recognize all these as entrusted to them to the use for the glory of God and for the helping of others. And so many times whenever we have these things and we know what we want to do with them, we're going to save up for this or we're going to save up for that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't hear me say that we all have to just give away everything. That's not what I'm saying. It's okay to save money. It's okay to put things back. It's okay to prepare for things and plan for things. If we're not doing that, we're also not stewarding well the gifts that God has given us. But the danger side of that is that we focus too much on it. And we hide it and we keep it to ourselves instead of giving it the way God has entrusted us to give it. We have a debtorship to the world, a holy trusteeship in the gospel, and a binding stewardship in our possessions. It's a part of who we are. Question number 5, material possessions can be dangerous for a Christian. Spoiler alert, I kind of just gave you the answer, and you probably already knew. Can they? Yes or no? Yes, they absolutely can. They're not bad on their own. It's not bad to have material possessions at all. Matter of fact, there's some people in this church that drive a really sweet car. I'm not going to name any names. And I'm like, I wish, that'd be cool. I'm not envious, I promise. My shirt's blue, not green. But, it's okay to have nice stuff. It's okay to have a nice house. It's okay to go on great trips. But whenever we begin to focus on those things, whenever we begin to make that why we live and how we do, then it changes everything. Douglas Sean O'Donnell wrote the Preaching the Word commentary on, wrote one of the Preaching the Word commentaries on the book of Matthew. And this is what he said: to use You cannot serve God and money, but you can serve God with money. It's okay to have money. It's okay to do those things. It's okay to save, but whenever we make that an idol, whenever we make that everything about what we're going to do, then obviously that is a danger. Question number 6, Christian stewardship is motivated by obligation. True or false? False. Even though this says that we have an obligation, we're therefore under obligation to serve him, that's not where the motive comes from. We're obligated to because he loves us and because he's given us these things, but we do it because we want to, because he has changed us, because he's given us this love and this gift of grace and forgiveness through Jesus' death on the cross. Now it is our great joy to go and do these things. It should be a priority for us to go and serve because we find so much pleasure in doing what God has given us. That's the whole idea that if you've been with us on Sunday mornings, you've seen we've done over the last 3 weeks this love to serve segment in our worship service. Because we want people to understand that when we love God, when we love his people, it leads us to serve. It is a joy. We love to serve. And we serve cheerfully. This is what it says in the article. Cheerfully, regularly, systematically, proportionately, and liberally for the advancement of the Redeemer's cause on earth. It's part of who we are. It encompasses who we are. So great job. If you passed the test, you passed the test. You had a 50-50 chance. If you missed one, just don't tell anybody. If you did, just say, hey, I misheard the question or whatever. It's fine. It doesn't count towards your final grade anyways, so it's okay. Whenever we're talking about the idea of stewardship, we took the pretest, we kind of understand some of the ideas of stewardship. I want to wrap it up with this verse, the idea of the heart of stewardship we find in Matthew chapter 6, 19 through 21. I'm going to read it real quick, and if you want to look there, you can. Matthew chapter 6, 19 through 21 says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." This idea of laying up treasures, we think storing. I want you to think about it maybe a little differently. Not just storing treasures, not just stashing them away, but really investing in them. Think about it. Whenever we have things, it's different than whenever we invest in things. One of them is just, I got that. And one of them is with purpose. Like I have this and I'm giving it attention and I'm really dealing with it and I'm working with it all the time. So this idea of laying up and investing in treasures on earth is totally different than investing in and laying up and storing up treasures in heaven. So whenever I read this passage, it makes me think of 3 things. And so I just kind of want to go over these 3 things with us tonight. Treasures, thieves, and hearts. And we got slides for all these. Miss Marty said, "Is that really the last one?" And I said, "Yes, it is. Not this one, but the last one is the last one. But then we'll get into some other stuff." So it's not it, but that's it. All right? So I want to hear from you all. Okay? Whenever you think of the word treasures, and remember, it's okay to have stuff, right? What are some treasures that we have? And in ministry, a lot of times we hear the Sunday school answer. If you want to give the Sunday school answer, cool, that's fine. But I really want to know, what are some treasures that we have? Obviously, we know the gospel, so let's get that one out of the way. But what are some treasures that we have? Family, friends, health. That was like rapid fire. What was it? Living here, freedom. Bibles, hobbies. Somebody say hobbies? Cats. Our cat is a gift. He's a treasure. There was a rat in the garage one time, and Emily said, "Sick it," and he did. Thank you, Sluter. He gave us a pregnant cat one time. That wasn't a treasure. Anybody else? What are some treasures we have? Freedom to worship. Photos? I like it, yeah. That's like capture those memories, yeah. Relationship with Jesus. That's that Sunday school answer. I love it. I didn't hear anybody say anything about their Dodge Rebel truck. I didn't hear anybody say anything about their bass boat. I didn't hear anybody say anything about their new CVA muzzleloader. Anybody got one of those? I'm a little jealous. Come on, what are some treasures? Let's hear it. Houses, perfect. Friends. Horses. I figure if you can't eat it, it's just not for me. But I'm glad, Miss Belinda, that you... No, but he's a tool. Animals are either tools or they're food. Well, that's... Anyways, okay. I think we dug into the treasures enough there. We've come off the rails a little bit. These are the things that we invest in. Obviously, we have toys. And for us, as we get a little older, toys look a little different. For my kids, toys are, video game systems, and Asher likes Lego figures, and Jackson, he's into a bunch of different stuff. But for us, toys get really expensive. Like, I just bought a new workstation toolbox, and Jackson's got an engine that he's working on, and toys it costs a little more. Toys can be anywhere from a penny to infinity, right? So we got toys, we got comfort. Somebody said house, that's a treasure. That's something that we want to store up. It's something that we invest in. Relationships and family and those kind of things. That's comfort. Indoor plumbing. Yes. I wish you all could have known my dad, who whined for years and years and years about not having indoor plumbing until he was in his 20s and got his own house. Oh my goodness. The treasure that was for him. Yes, it's a huge treasure for me too. Indoor plumbing is a nice comfort to have. And then, of course, the High King of Heaven. This is a song that we sing on Sunday mornings sometimes, not every Sunday morning, but the song is Be Thou My Vision. And there's a line in that song that really encompasses this idea of a treasure. Riches I heed not, nor man's empty praise. Thou mine inheritance now and always. Thou and thou only, first in my heart, High King of Heaven, my treasure thou art. Whenever we look at all of this idea of treasure, we look in that passage that we just read. This idea of stewardship and the treasures that we have, the things that we store up, the things that we lay up, the things that we invest in. Toys are fun. Comforts are nice. But if it weren't for God, it would all be worthless. This idea of stewarding and making sure that we are investing in the right things. And don't invest in things that don't have eternal value. Yes, invest in stocks, and we need to have a retirement and those kind of things. I'm not saying that. I'm saying don't give all of your life to material possessions and material comforts. Make sure that we're really investing in things that have eternal value. The next thing that we talked about was thieves. Whenever we talk about moths and rust that destroy and thieves that try and break in and steal, what are some thieves that you all can think of whenever we talk about our treasures? What are some thieves that you all can think about? Somebody say taxes. Slap a stamp on that one. What a season, too. Sickness, yes. A season for taxes and sickness. Good grief. Insurance. Inflation. Somebody said something over here. No? Identity theft. Yep. Time. I know we've all heard that. Time is a thief. Really is. Anybody else? Those are good. Great answers. I thought of some too, and just kind of go in here whenever we're talking about laying up treasures in heaven and how we invest in things that are eternal. Some things that are thieves and they try and steal these things from us. Disobedience is one of them. Whenever we talk about our own actions and our own behaviors and how those take away from our joy and take away from the treasures that we're trying to store up in heaven and investing in our relationship with Him, our disobedience steals that. It destroys that. It doesn't do away with it completely, because what we have can't be taken away. Whenever God gives it, He's not going to rescind it. He leaves it with us, but it sure does damage the relationship. Second one that I thought about was worry and shame. Whenever we talk about worry, we're worried about provisions. Like some people worry about where their next meal may come from. For us, our worry may be, something a little less extreme. It may be as extreme, but sometimes it's usually a little less extreme. We have worries, though. We worry about where things are going to come from. Our shame, just a response to our failure. Oftentimes we let that eat away at us and destroy our relationship and destroy those investments in eternal things. And then comparison, probably one of the biggest ones. And whenever we talk about material possessions or spiritual blessings, all of these treasures we can let comparison destroy a lot of things in our life. If it were, one of us saying, man, I really wish that I could do this like somebody else so that I could serve. Cole's in the room. Miss Colette's not. Watching her play the piano, I wish I could play the piano like that. I can't. You definitely don't want to hear me play the piano. I say you didn't want to hear me sing. You don't want to hear me play the piano because it would be terrible. But if I was just like judging how I served God based on that, like I wish I could play the piano, that way I could serve God. Comparison is going to destroy all of that. It's the same with material possessions too. But one thing the thief can't take from us, one thing the thief can't destroy, is the joy that we have knowing Christ. When we lose sight of that, then it changes everything. But if we've been redeemed, it can't ever be taken away. What God has given us, He's not going to take back. He's given it to us. He's entrusted us with it. He's going to leave us with it. He's going to walk with us through it. He's going to go there before us, and He's going to come behind us. He's always going to be there. And then the third thing that I read in that is our hearts. And this idea of a heart says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Really look at it like this. The things that we treasure, where we have our treasures, where we store up our treasures, where we invest in time and money and efforts and things like that, those become the things that we trust in. That's what that's really saying. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So the question just is, what do we trust? But more importantly, who do we trust? If we trust ourselves and our own abilities and our own talents, just like this, the wicked servant who stashed the talent in the ground, he was basically saying, Master, I didn't trust you to let me do what I thought I needed to do with this talent. I was going to take it on my own. I was going to trust in myself to take care of this because I didn't trust you. If we look at our relationship with God like that, then things are going to not work the way that they're meant to work. God has entrusted us with the gospel. He's entrusted us with everything that we own. He's entrusted us with our talents that you can't even put a value on. He's entrusted us with those things so that we can go and serve Him, so that we can steward them properly and manage those things. And just the idea of how we give is kind of the last thing. And then we'll go through the Firm Foundations book and answer the questions that are in there through the article. But the last thing that I want to look at is right here at the end of the article. It says that according to the Scriptures, Christians should contribute of their means cheerfully, regularly, systematically, proportionately, and liberally for the advancement of the Redeemer's cause on earth. So just to look at some of those words, the idea of giving cheerfully. And Pastor Travis does a great job of this. I know sometimes you'll go to a church and that's all you'll hear is about giving. And we mention it, it's right at the end of service because we believe that whenever we give to more than just ourselves and more, obviously, if you've been in Blanchard First long, I'm going to say this, obviously. Some of you may not know, whenever you give to the ministry of Blanchard First, it doesn't just stay in Blanchard. We're part of the cooperative program. We have associational giving. Our funds that come into Blanchard First go all around the globe. Next month, we're kicking off the Annie Armstrong offering, and that goes to the North American Mission Board, and we would love to tell you more about that. I think we use these words, and you guys are like, I don't know who Annie Armstrong is. I don't know what the North American Mission Board is. I could get into so much detail, but we just don't have a ton of time to get into it tonight. But if you come on Sunday, the first Sunday in March, we're going to show you a video that tells you all about what the Annie Armstrong Easter offering is all about and why we give towards it. We give to Blanchard First, and from there it goes all around the globe, because just as we as individuals are called to be stewards of what God has given us, we as a church are also called to be stewards of what God has given us. That's why we have teams that look over finances and help set budgets, and that's why we all have to work together to make sure this money that's been given is spent on things that are efforting towards the gospel and the ministries that we've been entrusted with here at Blanchard First. We want to be good stewards of what we have, and so we want to give cheerfully. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7 says, "Each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver." Obviously, in this circumstance, it's talking about looking after believers and giving to the cause of making sure that they have the things that they need, with the idea of advancing the gospel and making sure that the mission is done, making sure that people are taken care of. It's the same thing with us. Whenever we give, we should have a cheerful attitude, because it's not out of obligation. It's not out of compulsion. It's not because somebody's turning the screws and making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do and putting us in the juicer and bleeding out every penny that they can. Listen, we give cheerfully because God has given to us abundantly. So we give cheerfully. Regularly. Whatever that looks like for you, the Christian is to give regularly. And again, we can so often fall into this trap of just believing that we're talking about finances. But we're supposed to steward the gifts that God has given us and the talents that God has given us too. Some of you give that back by teaching in a connect group. Some of you give that back, praise the Lord, by cooking in the kitchen and making sure we have a meal on Wednesday night. Some of you give that back by working in the media crew in the back. And Larry and Marty and AJ's back there right now. They have a whole crew of people. Adam and Tiffany are always back there too. We have a whole crew of people that go back there and they help. And they give back regularly. It's a scheduled thing. They know what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. Whether that's tithe or servants, talents, whatever it may be, we give regularly. We also have to give systematically. There's a plan that we have. And whatever that looks like for you, again, it may be different, it may be similar to others, but we have to give systematically. And we give proportionately. As God blesses us, we bless others. Not just, again, I'm going to say it again, not just money, but the way that He's given us our gifts and talents and things. We give proportionately back to help others, and we give liberally. I'm not going to use the whole spread the mayonnaise on the bread thing again, or pour the coffee in your face or anything like that, but we give liberally. And that just basically means anytime we have an opportunity to give, anytime we have an opportunity to spend time with someone, any opportunity we have to give back to someone who's given to us or someone who is in need, we give that liberally back. For what purpose, though? It's the advancement of the Redeemer's cause on earth. It's not so that we can pat ourselves on the back. We don't want to give like the Pharisees who are walking into the temple and throwing coins and making all the noise. That's not doing us any good. God doesn't care about us making noise and making sure everybody sees it so that we can get a pat on the back. The goal of stewardship, the goal of giving, whether it's financially or whether it's gifts, I don't think that the people who are on the stage on Sunday morning are up there so that you can look at them. I think they're up there because they want to lead us in worship. And whenever we say lead us in worship, that means that they are the lead worshipers. They are the ones who are leading the worship. Don't even look at them. Look at the words on the screen. The people who are hiding behind the curtains, pulling the strings, making sure things happen. the unsung heroes. We don't have to be out there getting the accolades. We give not for the purpose of being known, but for making him known. So let's go through the Firm Foundations book. Some of you don't have this, and so I'm just going to read the questions. We'll answer them through the actual article. The question first is, where does every blessing come from? I think the answer is obvious. Where does every blessing come from? God. That's pretty simple. We'll wrap it up. It says, God is the source of all blessings, temporal and spiritual. All that we have, we owe him. When we know this, then it makes stewardship real. Because listen, if I'm just talking about stewarding my finances, it's a little less real. I just need to make sure that Emily and I can keep the lights on in the house, keep the boys fed, which is a chore in itself, and making sure that we can get back and forth where we need to go and our stuff doesn't fall apart, right? We're stewarding stuff. But whenever we see that God is the source of all blessings, temporal and spiritual, and all that we have, we owe to him, it makes things so much more real. It's not just about taking care of stuff at that point. It's about utilizing it to the fullest potential for the furtherment of the gospel. What are Christians stewards of? It's not an easy one. You can't just be like, oh, it's not a God Sunday school answer. So I'm going to read the article again. Christians have a spiritual debtorship to the whole world, a holy trusteeship in the gospel, and a binding stewardship in their possessions. The gospel is first, and then it's everything else. That's what we're stewards of. What is the biblical responsibility of stewardship? Believers are under obligation to serve God with their time, talents, material possessions, and should recognize all these as entrusted to them for use of the glory of God and for helping others. We'll mention this on Sunday morning if you were here for our time with our Love to Serve time, and we'll mention this idea of stewardship. And he said it's kind of something that he's really ran with in his Connect group, this idea of just having open hands. And whenever we steward things well, in the book of Job, he says, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. We have open hands so that God can give us and that God can take. We have open hands also so that others can help us and that others can be helped. We have this idea of stewardship in our minds, then it works really well. It has to be a part of our heart. It has to be understood as our responsibility and something that we're supposed to do with our time, talents, and material possessions. And then finally, how should Christians give of their means? We just talked about all of that. But again, the key to all of this is just to understand that even if we have nothing, we still have everything. Stewardship is not just about material possessions. Matter of fact, I would say it's much less about material possessions. When we understand that our first responsibility of stewardship is stewarding the gospel, then material possessions just kind of fall into place. And I'm not giving you this whole idea. Whenever I was a teenager, anybody remember John Jacobs and the Power Team? Anybody? Nobody? We got like 5 people. I know some of y'all remember these guys. Come on, they'd rip phone booths and they'd blow up those hot water bottles until they exploded, and they'd go running through 2x4s and bend rebars, and then they would tell you. I remember I was at First Southern Del City and I was sitting like 3 rows back on the front. And somebody made this statement. I'm not saying that Power Team was like this, but I remember this in my mind. They said, whatever you give tonight, you'll get back tenfold. And I remember thinking, sweet, I got $1 in my pocket. I put it in an envelope and I put it in and I was thinking, I'm getting $10 back somewhere. I don't know where it's going to be, but it's going to be somewhere. Listen, this whole idea of giving to get, that's not it. It's so far away from what we're supposed to look at. We give because we've been given, not so that we can receive. It's because God has given it to us. It's because God has entrusted us with it. It's because God has saw us as worthy of his forgiveness and his love, that even while we were still sinners, Christ died for us, went to the cross in our place, so that we could receive that gift of forgiveness, so that we could steward it, and so that we could give it back. God doesn't need us, but he uses us. When we're good stewards, oh man, can he use us? Now, I know some of you, I'm not telling you anything secret. I'm not telling you anything you didn't already know. Many of you in this room, I know that you're serving. I know that you're giving. I know that you're going. But I think sometimes we just need a reminder of why. Why do we do the things that we do? It's because we have to find great joy in it, because God has given it to us, because he's entrusted us with it. And we have the opportunity, the privilege. Yes, we are under an obligation, but it should never feel like that. It should be a joy to serve. It should be a joy to give. It should be a joy to love others. That's what stewardship is. Dave would be really disappointed, but that's really what stewardship is. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any statements?
I've got one of my favorite verses is, delight yourself in the Lord, and he'll give you the desires of your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I first became a Christian, I had that misdiagnosis because I was thinking, well, where's that 53 Corvette that I want?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the desire of my heart.
And then, whenever I finally, I'm hard-headed, realized if you're really delighting yourself in the Lord, you'll want his will to be done in everything
Yeah.
in your life. And
Yep. Yep, that's it. Whenever we delight ourselves in him, his will becomes the desire of our heart. For sure. That's good, Larry. Anybody else?